A controversial cobbler. Who would have thought such a thing could exist? Growing up, cobbler was a huge part of my summer diet. I grew up on a farm surrounded by boysenberry vines, and every year my siblings and I would pick them at the height of ripeness in all of their juicy, sweet glory. We would pick bucket after bucket, and even after my mom made jam for the whole year and we ate way too many, we would still have buckets left over. Then cobbler season started. So I'm no cobbler expert, but I would consider myself cobbler experienced. So imagine my surprise when I decided to make cobbler this week, only to find out that I had been duped. My childhood was a lie. Apparently, I wasn't eating cobbler at all. Surprise, surprise! Apparently, what I was enjoying so much is a crisp, which apparently isn't a cobbler. I had always thought cobbler was a general term for a fruit baked dessert with some sort of crumbly topping. I knew there were different kinds. Some were biscuity, some were cake-like, some were crunchy, but I was wrong. There really is only one true cobbler, and the rest have very specific, sometimes silly names I had never heard of. And the crunchy, buttery oatmeal treat that I loved so much is not a cobbler at all. Fascinating. That said, all the technical classifications aside, I don't think I'm the only one who thinks that the word cobbler has evolved over time to refer to the idea collectively rather than any one specific type, but I would love your thoughts on the matter. So in that spirit, I am going to call crisp and crumbles cobblers. You may argue with me, and I do love a good food debate, but I'm doing it. So let's talk about what a crisp and a crumble really is. They both have the same fruit base and a streusel-like crumbly topping. The main difference is that crisps, like their name implies, have a little bit of extra crunchy texture with things like oatmeal and nuts. So I thought it would be fun to make both, to show you how similar they are and how easy they are to adapt to your own personal taste. So let's get started. First, we will make a crisp. This recipe is from Geraldine Cooney, and I found it inside the 1950s community cookbook, California Kitchens. All you need to do to get started is blend fresh fruit with sugar and a bit of flour. You can use almost any fruit. I'm going to use blueberries because I am lucky enough to have an organic pick-your-own blueberry farm near where I live, but you can use almost any fruit. So just use what's available in your area at the moment. And adjust your sugar depending on how sweet your fruit is, from half a cup to 1 cup. My berries are nice and sweet, so I will use half a cup. But if you're using something like tart green apples, feel free to use a whole cup. Mix everything together, then transfer to a casserole dish and set it aside while making your topping. The crisp topping is very simple. Simply combine the flour, brown sugar, salt, nuts, and oatmeal in a medium-sized mixing bowl. Once those are well combined, cut in the butter. It's easiest if you cut the butter into small cubes before you put it in. The best way to mix the butter in is with your hands. A pastry cutter is often an option for cutting in butter, but with the nuts and the oatmeal, a pastry cutter is difficult to use, so your hands really are best. Try not to overmix the crumble. The less, the better in this case. You will want to still see chunks of butter when you're done, so just gently squish things around and stop as quickly as possible. Pour that over your berry mixture and you're done. So now I will set that aside while we make our crumble. A crumble is even simpler. This recipe is from Janet Bowles. She was sweet enough to donate it in the 1980s Norris Choir Sister City community cookbook. The fruit filling is made the exact same way as the crisp, by combining fresh fruit, sugar, and flour, and then transferring it to a casserole dish. The topping is made by combining flour, brown sugar, and salt in a medium-sized mixing bowl. Mix those together well, and then cut in the butter. Again, cut the butter into small cubes before adding it to the flour and mix it as little as possible, leaving plenty of visible, large butter pieces. Not overmixing is what ensures you'll have a lovely crumbly crust that falls apart beautifully. Pour that over your fruit, and just like that, it's ready to bake. Both the crisp and crumble are now ready to go in the oven for about 45 minutes to an hour. until the tops are a beautiful golden brown and the fruit filling is bubbling. All done. As you can see, the crisp is a bit more rustic with lots of texture from the nuts and oatmeal. It also is a bit less sweet, so if you're someone who prefers desserts to be less sweet, this one's for you. The crumble has a delightfully buttery, crumbly crust that melts in your mouth like candy. Just the perfect texture. Whatever you prefer, they are both delightful and ready to enjoy with a scoop of your favorite ice cream. If you'd like this recipe, I have put it in the description below, but I know it can be a little bit hard to copy from here. So if you follow me and comment recipe below, I will DM it to you. I'm so grateful Geraldine and Janet were kind enough to share their recipe in their community's cookbook. I do hope it inspires you to save more spiral-bound vintage community cookbooks and cook more old recipes.